Oftentimes I'm asked, how did you ever get started in this mayor's business? And I tell people that I think that I was a good volunteer. Never in my wildest dreams that I would serve 20 years as a mayor of Madison. Probably my first problem in the world of politics in Napanee, Indiana was that our biggest and really only full-service grocery store right after I was elected closed. They turned off the power to the store, the ice cream melted on the shelves. It was just horrible, and there was no grocery store. It was suggested that I would call Martin Supermarket in South Bend and tell them about our problem. So I did, ended up in a bankruptcy court. I got Martin's to go. They talked with the judge and the attorneys, and Martin Supermarket became a big part of Napanee. They've done so much for the community. They sponsor so many things. A few years later, they built a big new wonderful store with a pharmacy in it. And most people have forgotten that that ever happened. They think Martin's has been here forever. But it was my first little disaster, and kind of panicked at first, but we took care of it. And I really believe for anything like that, for the following 20 years, we just made sure we had the right partners on board, and everything kind of got taken care of. Couldn't build the educational building in the park because of DNR land. And I'd been on the park board when we were turned down for the approval to build that building, and worked with Democrat Congressman Tim Romer, a little Republican mayor, and Tim. We put that together. We renamed it, and sure enough, we got the approval. We built the building. Probably per capita, we have more Eagle Scouts in Napanee, Indiana than any other city in the country. On our east side, it didn't happen by accident. Mayor Bob Callender, Short McCormick, who was the car dealership owner here and a visionary, they wanted to expand our 9-hole golf course. We wanted to put condos in the golf course. And then we had a plan to develop the land across the street from the golf course. From that golf course expansion came what we call McCormick Creek housing.
We started in some minor residential developing 20 years ago, and it was medium level housing, and developed that, and it was quite successful in Napanee.
And as that started to sell out, the land across the street, Heritage Farms, emerged.
Heritage Farms, which includes residential, also retirement community.
We built quite a complex. I think we're very proud of it, and I think that we kept it looking the country look. It really shows Napanee.
And have also added a medical facility. The Engelmeyer Clinic has moved into our campus.
One of my challenges in the first State of the City addresses were the ages of our doctors and where was our medical care going. And the Engelmeyer Clinic came along, and now it's part of Goshen IU Hospital. It couldn't be better. And then around those buildings became our newest housing.
It's a wide generation development from young families to retirement age condominiums.
And from that, we got the big assisted living building.
I think we are most proud of the retirement community, the assisted living. Our mayor, Larry Thompson, took us to a meeting about 10 years ago in Rochester and showed us a development that was starting down there and said, why not Napanee? And we looked at it and we go, well, why not? So we pursued that. The city got right behind us, and since that came about, the facility has finished and up and running, and it's a place for the people in Napanee who retire are able to stay longer in our community for their medical needs.
So just from that park board to working on the golf course, making our parks better, all these things came along. And it was all about whoever my partnerships were at that time. I was just the cheerleader of many of these projects.
In Napanee, it's not, well, you know, maybe we'll think about it or something. It's like, you know, why not? Why can't we do what other communities are doing? Or we can do better. Or we can do better. Or we can do better.
When I took office, you could not have built a new industrial building here. We were out of space.
Several years ago, we helped develop a new industrial park at the west end of town.
And that was a big project that we tackled early on, and it's called the Bus Industrial Park. We helped raise the monies to make that happen, and it sold out relatively quickly.
So tax dollars are going towards a lot of improvements to the Bus Industrial Park, and that was started out there and been paid back through TIF dollars.
Prior to a lot of cities using TIF dollars, Napanee was kind of ahead of that curve.
We've developed TIF districts, which is a tax incremental financing district, and businesses pay into that, which then has allowed us to add more TIF districts. And then what we did a few years ago is we consolidated our TIF districts. So TIF dollars are able to be used for infrastructure, sewer, water, streets, roads, a lot of things that the general taxpayer dollars are not allocated for.
So here we are today using that very same money, not general fund or property tax dollars, to expand this industrial park in the other side of Napanee.
We acquired land at the airport facility.
We are actually extending water and sewer to that airport for a 400 to 500 acre industrial park that'll be shovel ready, and folks can come in here and we can continue to bring in good businesses that want good employees and to have a quality of life that is Napanee while we embrace our pace.
We are now under construction on the first new facility, a 70,000 square foot production plant for Challenger Designs, which is a company that builds outdoor living furniture and cabinets.
Fairmont Homes was a large manufacturer of manufactured housing and motor homes and things like that. Now they're kind of developers, if you would, and we've helped them market their buildings, and that's where ABC Bus is at. We're very proud of what we had before as we went through the recession, how we've re-emerged. What we learned in the recession is that we do need to diversify our economy, our industry. We have been retrofitting Greyhound buses for a couple years in Napanee. If you see a Greyhound bus anywhere in the country, it's blue and gray. It was rehabbed here in Napanee, Indiana. That same company now will be manufacturing a double-decker tour bus here, and we're just ready to make those announcements. I think one of the things that I was able to bring to the table, and I talk about my partnerships, was my connection to the Amish community in Napanee. It was important, whether it be for retail, tourism, but probably the most important thing was industrial. A couple of our largest manufacturers, the most modern plants anywhere in this country are here, and a couple of them are owned by Amish families. And the one is the kitchen company. The other one is a Challenger Door, one of the partners there. And they have emerged, I think, over my 20 years as mayor, as a big part of our industrial base. And I'm very proud of that. The supply industries to those industries that are located here are phenomenal in employing so many people.
We need to provide opportunities for the younger generation so they do not have to leave the area to find employment.
This is going to be just like the 402.
The fall of '07, an F3 tornado come through our town.
There's a tornado on the ground, a tornado on the ground at State Road 19 and 1350.
Actually destroyed a large portion of our industrial area and also a wide portion of the residential.
That's probably about heavy damage to my car and his car. There's trees down to the east and west of me.
South Main at that point had already become something that you didn't recognize. People were just wandering around.
Our children were very scared and nervous.
It was a sense of just lost. Getting calls for all sorts of things, from gas leaks to power outages.
We had zero power throughout the night.
We'd never been confronted with anything like that. As the night went on and you're without sleep and you come into the next day, I mean, the roads were completely covered, houses are gone, and we just weren't sure what we were going to do.
And around 5 a.m., an old rotary wall phone on our wall rang. And I picked it up, and it was Mayor Thompson saying, "Are you ready to go?" I said, "Yes, Mayor."
Pulled every resource we could, other community resources or outside community resources, to come in and help with the cleanup.
Going out and touring the devastation with the mayor and others, and just seeing the heart of Napanee.
It was an amazing time because as we would clean up the large portions and open the roads, the service groups and the churches would all follow, and they actually hand-picked and cleaned all the community, the lawns, the fields, the alleys. Everything was picked up by hand.
Groups of people were coming in to help clean up, and for miles all you could see was vehicles lined up to come help Napanee, and how we rebuilt in less than a year without federal funds, and not one person around here griped or complained and said the city isn't doing enough. All the folks said, "How do we help you?"
I remember gathering together for the first view, the first alert, and I said to Larry, "I want to come and help, but I don't know what to do." And Larry said, "Come and just offer moral support." And they said it couldn't be done, and Napanee had the place rebuilt before FEMA could even think about being here.
In 1 year's time, we had Napanee rebuilt, and that takes strong leadership, and that's what Mayor Thompson gave us. We've had so many different projects that the mayor has supported us on doing. Water plant expansions, sewer plant expansions over the years. We were able to garnish probably close between $14 and $15 million in free grant money from the federal government to help offset the costs. We're working on a combined sewer overflow project right now that has a price tag of just at $29 million. Through the mayor's efforts and our team Napanee, as well as Commonwealth Engineers and Umball Associates, we went to the federal government asking for some money from rural development, USDA rural development, and we got a total financial package of that $29 million, of which $12.86 million is free grant money. So that's going to really reduce the amount of increases on sewer bills that the residents will see. It wasn't for the mayor's leadership, we would have struggled with high utility bills here in Napanee. And Mayor gave us total support. He said, if you think we can have a chance of getting that money, we need to go after that. And to compete in a federal level like we did across the entire country, for us to be awarded that is a tremendous moment. And the day we had the public announcement here in the Napanee Center, and having Senator Donnelly and Congresswoman Jackie Walorski and all the other state officials here, that definitely was a highlight of my career. With this project, we'll see an expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. It's going to give us extra capacity because right now we're trying to treat all the storm water, which we will take that storm water through a whole separate treatment facility. So that opened up capacity for future growth in Napanee.
We are currently working on a Madison Street rebuild for our historic Brick Street that we are working closely with the engineers and getting ready to put that out to bid by the end of this year. Some of the other things we've done, Indiana Avenue, the Lincoln Street project, US 6 West has been done. The Lincoln Street was a big benefit for the citizens of the city and providing them another avenue to get around town and staying off of 6 and 19 where a lot of the business traffic is.
Well, we're developing currently developing, it started as a bean field when I started, but the 30-acre well field, our new well field, is a new soccer complex that over 10 years ago, the land was purchased as the hopes of our future well field and multi-purpose land use. And soccer clubs had a need for a while to have their own facility. They were, even when I was growing up, they were playing at the school, or they were playing out at our ball fields at the Calendar Sportsplex, and they were really wanting their own home. So I've been fortunate enough to be working with a good team with the soccer club, as well as the water department, to develop this 30-acre. And now we have beautiful fields on the north 12 acres, and we're working on developing a partnership with the high school on the south end as well.
Another fun project for me to get the ownership of the depot and the CSX Railroad. And we had renovated the parking lot down there, and this is why Napanee is here, because of the railroad. And couldn't be done, and we went through so much red tape with CSX Railroads out of Jacksonville, Florida. We went to some court hearings and did a lot of things. But after a couple of years of negotiations, actually got to meet John Snow, who was president of CSX and later became the cabinet member, head of the Department of Treasury, I believe under Bill Clinton. And made some great connections there, and finally we got the ownership of the depot in its current location. It could not be moved. Then we went after some federal money and rehabbed it. And today it's a home to what we call Open Door, which is a helping agency. It's a food pantry and helps people pay utilities. Pleasant Acres was a corner of our community that had been neglected since the beginning of Napanee. It did not have water or sewer, had some gravel roads, probably had a sprinkling of maybe 6 homes. Went to work on some housing. Governor O'Bannon was in office, and Judy O'Bannon came here, and we stood over that field, and she said, we can put houses here. And at that time in Indiana, first-time home buyers was a big thing. And with the director of the Family Christian Development Center here, Joanne Andrews, and her husband Larry, who was our redevelopment chairman at that time, we met with Mrs. O'Bannon and laid this out. And then we engineered it. And then the Department of Commerce at that time in Indiana gave us, I think it was about $500,000 to put the water and sewer in. It was a great project. It helped 24 or 5 families actually own their own home.
One of the other big areas, and this is where family and community comes in, is our parades. We've seen that expand. You know, we start our year with the Memorial Day Parade, go on to 4th of July Parade, Apple Festival, and then I think which I was fortunate to help start was the most important parade of the year, which is our Miracles at Main and Market Street Christmas Parade. And that has become a family tradition where we end at the Depot Plaza, come together and have a candle lighting service and read the Christmas story and bring out that true meaning of Christmas.
We have great amenities here in Napanee. We've got wonderful schools, parks, our library is nationally recognized. But probably 17 or 18 years ago, we started looking around and there was a gap in terms of city services for kids. Kids were getting out of school, and after school care became a big issue. And it became evident to us that unsupervised kids from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock have a way of finding things that they shouldn't. We became associated with the Boys and Girls Club of Goshen. They had just really started a vibrant program over there. And Boys and Girls Club of America told us that they would not charter a club this close to theirs, so we had to be affiliated with them. We began to make plans for a club for Napanee that would be part of a larger umbrella of theirs. And 15 years ago, it actually came into fruition. We had an old elementary school in town that the school corporation had moved out of. It had been sold to a private individual. It was a good facility. It had a gym. The city put together a consortium that purchased the property, and part of it was renovated for senior housing, part of it was used for the elder house, and then the Boys and Girls Club opened up in the rest of it. And that was 15 years ago. We figured at the time, if we could see 50 kids a day that had no other place to go, we would have met a need and done what we wanted to do. We flung open the doors, and lo and behold, we were 50 people right off the bat, 50 kids. Today, 15 years later, we see over 150 kids every day in that facility. At our board meeting a couple months ago, we got a letter from a lady with a check from her. And she said, I moved to Napanee for a job. I didn't have anything. I didn't have childcare, and the Boys and Girls Club was there for me, and they helped me raise my boys. And back then, I really couldn't support it. But today I can, and I owe a debt that I need to repay to you folks, because you helped my boys grow up to be the young men that they were going to be. And it was just one of those moments where you said, okay, this is why we go out and raise the money and do all those things.
I think one of the successes that we've had in Napanee, and what makes us stand out a little bit from other communities, maybe our size or even larger, that I have served for a long time, and but more importantly, I had the same clerk treasurer until a year ago, my entire time as mayor, and she was here a couple terms before me. Her name is Kim Engel. Everything that I ever wanted to do, Kim was able to help me accomplish many of those goals, and we never at one time, I don't think, jeopardized the financial standing of Napanee. Going back years ago, we had sold our utilities, and it was for a little over $1 million. We had that $1 million yet, and we used some interest off of it to offset our general fund costs. I'm very, very proud to say in Elkhart County, about 6 months ago, we invested our entire $1 million in the Elkhart County Community Foundation, which helps so many people around Elkhart County. But we put the $1 million in there, and we will be getting, give or take, maybe $50,000 a year in interest to offset our general fund. More importantly, that money is protected. It is locked away. It will continue to grow, and we think that's going to be a tremendous thing for Napanee.
Napanee, I think, is small town America. People know people.
You know, there are no R's or D's after our names in Napanee. You know, we're all in this together.
Right now, with all the things going on in the world, we need each other.
How are we going to take care of each other? You know, whether it's a tornado coming through town, or it's, look, we've got this sewer project, you know, how are we going to do it together? And that's what Napanee's always been about.
People may have different titles, but they'll do anything to help each other. And it starts at the top at the mayor's office and goes all the way down through any of our communications that we have or any of our people.
The teamwork on this department and in this city has just been great since I've been working here. You never can say, I can't do something because I don't have the equipment or the manpower, because all I have to do is ask the street department, the fire department, the EMS, anybody for help, and we're always here to work together as a team.
This is how it should be. We're our own little Mayberry. We live in a bubble, and I don't ever want it to burst.
I see such good things going on. I see neighbor caring for neighbor, industry coming. Our downtown is thriving, our schools, our parks. I'd like to say that Mayor Larry Thompson's responsible for all of that, but he's not. It's been a team effort, and I think Napanee's a pretty awesome place.
My future and how I see Napanee and its leadership and things like that are so very important. You'll hear different mayors say the same thing, but there's no way to fix the potholes politically. It's roll up your sleeves and go to work. Provide the funds for the people who can do you a great job. And no matter what happens in future elections in Napanee, we need to always be aware of the fact we've got to come together. We're too small to be these two separate groups of people. And we have to work together. Just like we're clamoring for the state and federal governments to do, we got to do that here. And as long as we do that, and we're straight up above board and honest about it, no matter what your politics, Napanee is going to be your friend. And I think that's the key to our future.